Hey everyone, I got a really exciting show for you today. I have an individual that I first bumped into 12 or 13 years ago, right in the kind of almost at the beginning of the last crash. And he's gone on to do some amazing things. And I bumped into again on Instagram of all places. I'm like, dude, I got to get this guy on. Finally lined it up. So let's welcome Kent Clothier to the show. How you doing, Kent?
I'm doing good, brother. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. I remember you back in the day being, semi-active on Bigger Pockets. It was kind of the platform of the day. We were all kind of trying to figure it out in this new world of a real estate crash. And, I think you've had some tremendous success. So why don't you tell everybody what's your world look like today? And then we will rewind the clock and go through that.
Sure. So I run a company called Real Estate Worldwide, which does two things primarily. One, we have a training platform, so we train people in all areas of real estate, and then we have our software business, which provides data and marketing tools to roughly about 60,000 people around the country right now. And so all of that started out of, like you said, basically out of real estate investing and out of times just like these when people were trying to figure it out. We were figuring some stuff out, and before you knew it, they were asking us for their advice. And the rest, as they say, is kind of history.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Let's rewind the clock and just for fun, pretend we're 12 years younger. I know I'd like to think about that sometimes. And so let's put this at let's actually go 14 years. Let's go right before the crash. So let's talk 2006.
Yep.
Do you remember what you were doing in 2006 in this crazy world of real estate?
Yeah, you know what? I'll even go maybe a few years before that,
Okay.
maybe 3 or 4. So basically, I had been in a completely different industry for a very long time, and actually been, by most measures, very, very successful in an arbitrage business that I built from the time that I was 17 to the time I was 30, and that business actually became the 7th largest privately held company in the state of Florida. Was doing, or still does, but was doing $1.8 billion a year. I was a young guy, very, very successful at it. Had built this whole thing up. And ultimately had a disagreement with my partners and got run out of it. And ultimately, over a couple of years, I basically milled around trying to figure out how I was going to rebuild that business, et cetera, and failed miserably, lost everything, and it ended up in real estate because I basically had nowhere else to go. Right, I basically had my back against the wall and burned every bridge on the way down. And so, I fell into this game because probably like a lot of people, where I'd watched a late night infomercial,
Sure.
decided that one night I just was desperate enough to go do it. Went down there, was completely broke at the time when I went there after losing millions and millions of dollars. And quite frankly, had been making just horrible business decisions for years at that point. And so I didn't necessarily trust myself, but luckily I trusted myself when I was in there, and I learned about this wonderful world of wholesaling at the time, right? And so I got started wholesaling in 2003, started flipping properties pretty quickly, and quickly applied a lot of the business acumen that I had in my previous life to a business that I think we can both agree is mostly, had always been treated not like a business, but basically like a hobby, right? Like a hustle for people.
Sure.
But we turned it into a really big business. And so, our investment side of our business today still does over 1,000 properties a year. We've now flipped over 6,000 properties, right? So this is a big operation that started from that kind of desperate time. And so going into 2006 was about the time, I'd been doing it for about 3 years, was probably about the time that I decided that I was really going to start applying systems, people, and processes, right? I was kind of, it wasn't a factor of whether or not I could make money, right? Yeah. As is the case with a lot of entrepreneurs, they figure out that they can actually make money at it. And so the good news is that they'll probably never be broke. The bad news is they can't take their foot off the gas, or else the money stops. And so I got really, really serious about turning it into an actual company and not just me. And so going through that process, timing is everything, right? As they say. In my previous life in the grocery business, one of the concepts that I had come up with, and then, by the way, it's not that revolutionary. It just, when you hear it, it doesn't sound that revolutionary, but for some reason, it made sense for a lot of people, was in the grocery industry, the way I took a company to almost $2 billion a year is I kind of just turned the model around and said, hey, instead of us starting with this thing and trying to go sell it to everybody and competing with everybody, Why don't we just go ask our customers, our best customers, if I could sell you anything at any price, delivered on any day, in any quantity, what do you want to buy from me?
Wow.
And effectively getting, thinking about it, basically kind of getting, I don't want to call it purchase orders because it wasn't formal like that, but certainly getting a really good indicator of what my customer wanted to buy from me, which basically we would use that data and go back and generate those items.
Yeah.
And we kind of had a built-in client.
Right.
And so in 2006, 2007, I started doing that exact same thing, but in the in the real estate space. Nobody at that point had ever, to my knowledge, had ever understood how big cash buyers, how an oversized demographic they were in the real estate game. And quite frankly, I didn't either at that time. All I cared about was I just knew that as I was wholesaling deals, the deals that were really easy for me were to the guys that had cash and could close in 7 days. And that's really all I cared about. And so I devised a way that I could go down to the county courthouse in Broward County, Florida. And I would go down there and basically the clerk's office, and I would look at all of the deed transfers from the week before. And then I would look at, accordingly, every one of those deed transfers where a mortgage wasn't recorded. And clearly, if they didn't record a mortgage, they had to have paid cash.
Right.
And that was my list, if you will. I can remember writing it. I mean, you and I are old enough to remember the old green ledger book. I would write it on a green ledger book, right?
Oh yeah.
And I would take it back, and I would hand write these letters and mail them out to these cash buyers. And before you knew it, I had about 12 guys and girls that would buy, at any given time, would buy 10 to 15 properties a month from me, all cash. And so then I started figuring out a way to automate that process, basically getting this data, because there was no mechanism to do that. But what happened was as we started automating those processes and putting in a little bit of software and writing some code to get that done, hired a couple programmers, the recession hit.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I said, timing was everything. When the recession hit, the one thing that when this market had been white hot, right, speeding up and accelerating,
I remember.
Everybody that was buying that wasn't a cash buyer was basically getting 100% financing, fog and mirror type loans. And so when all that credit dried up, all of my competitors just vaporized, evaporated overnight, gone. And everybody was looking at me like, how are you doubling and tripling your business in 12 months? I don't understand what's going on. And that is how, Real Estate Worldwide was actually born, is because people were pulling on me saying, how are you doing this? I don't understand. And what I had done was starting with the end in mind. I had just figured out a way to get to cash buyers in any market now, because I had automated and created the code to do it. And basically, where everybody else was dying on the vine, I had a mountain of cash buyers with millions of dollars who were waiting for the recession to hit so they could come up and buy everything they could. And we literally could not keep up. And our business just exploded. Both our businesses exploded. Not only did our investing business explode, but our information and software businesses were born right out of that. So what was I doing, this time, 12 years ago, 14 years ago? That's really what I was doing. It was one of these phenomenons that it seemed smarter to me to start with the end in mind. Yeah. And then I say it now. And when you say that, people are like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But quite frankly, you'd be shocked at how many people still don't operate that way.
Well,
right? Majority.
I don't know. I can count certainly on less than one hand the number of people that think that way. Even today, after 20 some odd years of doing this, and now the second, severe adjustment in real estate. And I just want to I want to try to relate what you and I experienced. I'll call it 08 for lack of a better term, with what a lot of folks are feeling in 2020, right? They've had success the last 5 years, right? And I don't want to call it easy, but it's been repeatable, right? You could do it, right? Whether it's mailers or ringless voicemails or door knocking, it kind of all worked. But because there was lending, right? A lot of these folks were finding buyers that were just flippers who could get a 90% of purchase and 100% of repair. Just like we experienced your competition disappearing in, I'll call it 08 again, those buyers are now gone, right? So these are wholesalers that now are spending, several $1,000s to tens of $1,000s a month, and their end buyers have changed. And if you don't pay attention, that's a quick way to go bankrupt. right? Because they're
Yeah,
those,
for
those,
sure.
if you're not going out and actually realizing who's still a buyer, and I'm guessing this is where your concept for reverse wholesaling came up. Is that where, am I seeing
Yeah,
the
I mean,
connection?
look, here's the way I see it, and kind of echoing what you're saying is that a couple of things, right? This market is different
Yep.
because in '08, the concept that I had just talked about, I mean, there were no data products. You couldn't actually go out and find cash buyers. We
Right.
created that, right?
Yep.
There's since been a lot of companies that have kind of taken our idea and exploded with it, and I love that. But the reality is, there was no cash buyer database.
No.
There was no vacant property database. There
Nope.
was no. I mean, we created all those things inside of our company.
Yeah.
And so that will play a very different role, right? The automation,
Sure.
the systems, the technology to be able to quickly connect with buyers and sellers. And as you mentioned, ringless voicemail or cold calling. I mean, technology has changed the game so dramatically. Equally, what has changed the game is that there are a lot of, again, back in '08, there were no institutional buyers, right?
Right.
The guys that were buying were guys like us.
Yeah.
We were basically as big as it got.
Yeah.
And now you have hedge funds and institutional buyers and banks and iBuyers and big companies that have the ability to buy tranches of property, even off the books. You'll never even see it. It will never even hit the market, right?
Yep.
They're going to think, and so
they're going to buy the debt. They're just going to swoop in and buy the debt.
Exactly right. They're just going to buy the note and control the debt, and then they'll ultimately get the property.
Yep.
And so this is very, very different. The dynamics are very different, but it doesn't take away from one clear thing that you just pointed out, is that there are a lot of, including the institutional buyers, but there's basically kind of three types of cash buyers out there in my experience, right? You have the attorneys and doctors and successful business people, and these people that have a lot of money, whether it's in their self-directed IRAs, their retirement funds, whatever. They got capital that has probably gotten beat up a little bit inside of the market, and they now are reading it just like we are, that real estate's going to be a place that they're going to start placing their money. So we're already getting those types of phone calls. This is an uneducated cash buyer, right? Or potentially leverage buyer, but certainly a cash buyer in a lot of cases, that wants the asset class because they want to build real wealth, right? They want to buy at the bottom. They haven't been able to do that in a very long time.
Yeah. Shoot.
And so they're coming in right now. It's kind of like that first wave, that tier one of cash buyers coming. Tier two are guys like me, right? That guys like our company, REI Nation, Memphis Invest. We buy 900 properties a year, and we run it as a business. It's an investment. We are buying not only for our portfolio, but for our business model counts on all that. But in the big scheme of things, although we are a big fish, we are certainly not the biggest fish, which is kind of tier three, which is, again, the institutions, the iBuyers, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But don't kid yourself. All of those types of buyers are sitting on a great deal of liquidity, a great deal of dry powder, and they have been waiting with bated breath for this opportunity to buy at a discount. And so they are going to come in massive waves. Traditionally, at any given time since 2008, on average across the country, cash transactions have made up to 40% of national average of all transactions. Okay, 40%, right? And you're going to see, in a lot of cities where cash transactions will make up 50, 60, 70%. I mean, that kind of phenomenon is going to happen all over again, because again, the credit facilities are going to come with a lot of restrictions. They're going to pull back, right?
Yeah.
And so cash is king, and it's coming.
Yeah.
And so understanding how big that wave of opportunity that is coming in, and really positioning yourself to get in front of it and to ride it into the shore is a key pivot that people should be making right now. Will it be different? Will it, the adjustments? Will the technology and everything kind of represent a different potential and represent a different, I don't want to say outcome, but basically a different level of simplicity than in 2008? I absolutely believe that. I think now it's easier to take advantage of that wave than it has ever been.
Yeah, I would tell you, just having this conversation is, again, two guys who lived it last time. Just so we're on the same scale, right? We did like 40 or 50 deals. We're not a company. We're just individual investors. I was a high W-2 earner, but when I can buy shit for land value, I buy shit for land value, right? We were
100%,
right? So just
why not?
Why not, right? But again, over 15 years, it allowed us to retire, and we're just simple landlords, and we're cool, right? That hence the one rental at a time thing. But that all said, I think the systems and technology that we have this time makes the story of last time, makes the first mover have more advantage.
Oh,
Right?
for sure.
Because last time last cycle was just like every month was just like another bad month, right? You couldn't chew them off, and the banks were all confused how to foreclose and who owned the debt, and you got this piece, and it's just messy.
Right.
This time, not nearly as messy. Kind of clear rules of engagement. There's clear service providers between the banks and people, and I think first mover advantage is going to be important. I also see a time lag, unlike last time where the banks were, I consider, stupid and said, hey, I won't even talk to you about a short sale until you miss 3 payments, right? That's when we talk, right? Which just delayed the whole process. Now they're like, okay, 90-day forbearance for everybody. We're kind of kick that can down the road where we figure this out. And then we're going to start to see people realize that month 4 is a big makeup check. And we're going to have people go right to, distressed sellers. So it could be as soon as July, August, September, we're going to have to get in front of this. And
here's the other thing I will tell you, to your point, is that your first to market advantage starts now.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you are not, here's what I can absolutely tell you. If you're in the game now and you have stopped marketing to buyers or sellers, you have just signed your death warrant. That I do remember from 2008, right?
Yeah.
Is that the biggest reason why my competitors were gone is because they took a wait and see approach and stood back instead of solving the problem, pivoting, doing what they needed to do to stay top of mind in front of buyers and sellers. They were petrified. They were scared to death. And I get it. We were all scared to death, but a clear advantage that we had is, one, we had those buyers in our back pocket, and 2, we didn't stop. Yeah. We kept going. And so if you have the ability to keep marketing for sellers and buyers, you need to keep marketing. And here's why. I've said this a lot over the years, but you can count on your competition's mediocrity.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
Just as much as the sun is going to rise up tomorrow, you can 100% count on your competition's mediocrity. And so just know that they're going to stop. And by virtue of stopping, you can immediately gain market share. But the only way that happens is if you're in the game.
Yeah.
If you go and you stop marketing, you became a part of that mediocrity. So stay in the game. And if you have the opportunity, double down. If you really know your numbers and know your KPIs and have the ability to do that, this is a great chance to distance yourself.
I totally agree. I just want to add, I guess, a twist on that in my mindset. I think the unique advantage you have, or the opportunity you created and then took advantage of, is you started with the end in mind, right? A wholesale contract means nothing when you secure it. It only becomes a liquid event or cash when you have that buyer, and more importantly, a buyer that can close. So by going to the end in mind and doing that technology, leveraging the tools that you have and you provide for others, whoever's doing that now is ahead of the game.
No doubt.
Because I do believe there are some people marketing today and maybe even doubling down, but they didn't change with the market. They're marketing to the wrong sellers, the sellers that may not have equity or won't take tomorrow's price. They want yesterday's price. And that's just a huge cost to sale. And it means nothing except burning time and money. I just love when you can go to the buyer and go, what do you want? Let me hunt for what you bought. I mean, if I know 100 buyers, or 10 buyers, and I know there's 7 criteria, I would quadruple my marketing.
Well, to echo a comment you just made, right, is that you don't want to waste time. You don't want to waste effort. You don't want to waste a bunch of energy, and certainly not money. And the way you avoid that, again, is when you start with the end in mind.
Yes.
Think about it, whether you're new or seasoned, in a time when you cannot afford to, waste any of your resources, right? If you just know that you've got 3 buyers that want to buy in the southeast part of the county, and they want to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot house on average, and they want to pay $160,000, then think about how laser focused you can get with all of your seller marketing on just generating that one thing, because anything else you do is noise, and it's a waste of resources.
Yeah, that's what people need to do. If you're in this business and you want to survive, because if there will be half of you in 6 months, half of you will no longer exist. The half that have the best chance is understanding where yes answers come from. And yes answers don't come when you get a contract. It comes when you get the assignment and the assignment closes. So go figure out what those 7 people want, and then take all that extra marketing and just go down to 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Southwest. Yep. I love that. So let's talk about what you're doing with software and tools and all of that, because again, people seeing this need to come to you and figure out what they have. What can they get? What can they get to help them do this?
Yeah. So again, and you guys understand a little bit of the story, right? So how
Sure.
this kind of came about is that when we started, we created a product back in the day called Find Cash Buyers Now, and it sold millions and millions of dollars into people in that software and access to that software. And then it grew into the next thing we had provided was Find Private Money, because back, if you remember, everything was
Yeah.
about money back then.
Yeah.
And then the third leg, if you will, was ultimately then we went out and figured out how to go find vacant properties systematically, right? So now we had all three: sellers, buyers, and money, kind of the holy trinity.
Okay.
And so we now call that SMART, and have for the last 5 years, strategic marketing and real estate training. So when you buy our SMART program, basically what happens is you have access to all the cash buyers around the country, right? And what the software will do for you is show you everybody that's paid cash in any market, any zip code, and it's updated every 7 days. It shows you their name, phone number, email address, mailing address, the price they paid for the property, et cetera. And then it'll show you every property they've ever purchased for cash.
Wow.
But then it will also, with a few mouse clicks, all of our marketing that we do inside of my core business is just automatically included. And so, hey, here's the letter we send to the cash buyers. And so with a couple mouse clicks, you can immediately send the direct mail campaign right from the system. You can, again, like I said, append the phone numbers or pin the emails right to it inside of the system. So if you want to go and do ringless voicemail, or if you want to go do cold calling, or you want to go do Facebook marketing, all of that is automatically kind of baked in there, so you can get that data and do that. And the same is true on finding private money, on finding private lenders, I should say, and then finding motivated sellers. On the motivated sellers, it's vacant properties, it's foreclosed properties, it's out-of-state owners, it's owners that have been that have occupied a property for longer than 10 years.
Sure.
Free and clear, high equities. I mean, commercial, resident. The filters go on and on and on, and you can layer all this stuff, right, and get really, really finite lists and very specific geographic locations. Which, like I said, back in 2008, none of this existed. Right?
No,
all of this was basically, hustle. And now it's like, all right, my buyers tell me what they want to buy, and then I just go into the system, and here's the sellers that are in the exact situation and fit that criteria. I send marketing to them. I pick up the phone. I follow the scripts that Kent gives me, and boom, I do a deal, right? And so that's kind of what we're all about is, I believe there's a lot of elegance and simplicity.
Sure.
There's a lot of people get paid a lot of money to make this seem really, really hard. And quite frankly, when it comes to this particular aspect, right? I'm not talking, you and I both know there can be levels of complexity. This little thing right here to get somebody where they can go make $100,000, $200,000 a year and kind of change their life and get going. This is a really straightforward and simple process. And I believe in making it as simple as we possibly can for somebody, connecting as many dots as we can and rattling their cage and getting them moving. And that's what we're all about.
The other thing I want people to realize, again, since we have, 20, 25 years of experience together, is I would say there's lots of people that have made nice incomes the last 5 or 6 years, but there was so much competition, kind of everybody made nice incomes. What I experienced kind of 2010 through 12, which in my market was the bottom, was that those 2 years changed. That's what made me wealthy. That's what I bought a lot of shit before and a lot of shit after, but it was those 2 years that set me up for financial freedom. So why I bring that up is, yes, you may have made 100, 200, 3, 5, whatever it was the last 5 years, whatever that is for you. If you do the right things in the next 2 years, you could set your family, you could set up generational wealth if you
for sure. Yeah. Here's the thing. I'll just say a couple things. One, that, you get a choice, and obviously we wouldn't even be doing this if you weren't passionate about it. And I wasn't passionate about sharing the information, because we recognize the opportunity that we are in right now. Right. And I think we both hope that coming off of this recording in particular, that people that coming out of this show, that people understand that this is a massive opportunity. This is not just a little bit of opportunity. You could wait your whole life for this opportunity.
Agreed.
But you're going to get what you focus on. And if you're in the doldrums and you're focused on the obstacle, then it's going to be real hard to get and focus on the opportunity. So if you find yourself getting, beaten around, you're listening to the news, the naysayers, is it the right time to go start a business? I'm scared to death. All that, those are all obstacles, right? You're all the reasons why you can't do this.
Yep.
If you want to get out of that, then you just need to focus on exactly what you just said, that this is the opportunity right now, the first step of many steps, but this is the chance to create generational wealth. And everything else in your life, I promise you, if you focus on that opportunity, will seem like nothing but a little bit of noise. Equally, I will go back, and one of the things you said is that, and I agree with, is it's real easy to get lulled and seduced by any success you've had over the last 5 years.
Amen
right?
to that.
Right? Anybody and their brother could have made money in the last 5 years. As they did, and then they were not too, they love to go off and talk about it. I've been in the industry for a hot minute, and so here's my Lamborghini and my BMW, and I'm flying on private planes and drinking champagne. And you know what? Kiss my ass, right?
Exactly.
You have no idea. Anybody and their brother could have done that. Now, where the going gets tough and you figure out exactly what you're made of is in this kind of moment, right? Because a lot of people are getting punched in the face, and a lot of people who put systems and processes in, and run hard when the market's just going like this. When the market takes a dip, real leadership is making tough decisions. Real leadership looks like making key pivots, and real leadership looks like, everybody get behind me. I'll show you exactly how you get out of this. And that's what you have to be right now in this kind of environment. You got to be the leader. You got to be the person that's basically saying, this is my chance. This is my opportunity. Here's where I get to demonstrate exactly what it looks like. Screw everything I've done before, because none of it's relevant, right?
Before event, after event. Yes.
Yeah. This is the moment. And I could care less what you did, 2018, 2017, 2019. It doesn't matter.
Irrelevant.
This is the time now that will define you, and you get to decide.
Excellent. I love that. So let's put you on the spot for a minute. And I'll ask you this question in two different flavors. First one is you personally, right? Your wife, your kids, your portfolio. What are you looking to add to your stack of properties here in the next 24 to 36 months? Have you even had a chance to think about that? Or are you just so busy with the day job you haven't had a chance?
No, we are always buyers, right? So we add single family. We're very focused on single family. It's our core business. So we add single family properties every year, rentals. We'll continue to build a rental portfolio. We'll probably do it at an accelerated rate.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, if we can pick up some multifamily that makes sense, we will. I can tell you, I have a desire. I don't have the education, but I do have the partners, and I have the desire to figure out what the next twist and the next way to try to get into some commercial stuff. But I think that's a very tricky thing right now with so many businesses and so much stuff going. So as much as I again was kind of seduced by it over the last year and started doing a lot of work to figure out how to get into it, I now think that the next 12 months, next 24 months is going to be pretty tricky.
Oh yeah. It's all houses the next 12 to 24 months. The commercial 100%. Market's got lending, and it'll break, but it'll break.
It's going to get very ugly
in a couple of years
before. Yeah. And so I think that you could, very, very reasonably, and again, going back to what I was saying earlier, here's the other side of this, is that if you and I were talking 10, 12 years ago, if we were talking about trying to buy out-of-state properties, single families, and try to manage them from a distance none of that infrastructure exists, right? So now if you think about our company, REI Nation, that's our business model today, right? So we run a turnkey provider that operates out of 7 cities. We manage 6,200 properties right now that we've sold to our investors.
Wow.
And that whole model was born out of this, right?
Yeah.
Again. And so
I get it. Yeah.
It's easier now, I guess is where I'm going with it, to take advantage. If anybody that is listening or watching this, don't just be looking in your own market. The reality of it is that markets are all different, but there is significant opportunity that is coming and will continue to come for the foreseeable future, coast to coast.
Yeah.
And if you can get a cash flowing asset that is well managed with good partners in another city, then you absolutely need to be trying to take advantage of that.
Well, let's list the 7 cities you're in. Let's not hide it. What 7 cities is the team in?
Dallas, Houston, Memphis, Tennessee, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Little Rock, Arkansas, and St. Louis. So our operations.
Yeah.
We have two corporate offices. We run out of Memphis, Tennessee, and Dallas, Texas, and we run all those cities kind of within driving distance there. They're great, flyover states, obviously, right? Great middle America type cities where for $150,000 you can buy a great home that's been built after 2005, and great rents, great tenants. Our average tenant has been in our property over 4 years.
Yeah. Makes
I mean,
sense.
when you can put all these mechanics in place and get um, a good cash return on an investment that's well managed in that
Yeah.
kind of environment. And again, whether it's with us or somebody else,
Yeah.
you need to be very, very aware that those types of opportunities exist, and they exist today.
Yeah. So let's put that into context of the next couple of years. So first and foremost, again, using yesterday as a guide for tomorrow, deals will be probably better, meaning a little bit cheaper, maybe more people renting, lending is changing. Again, these are just assumptions, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think single family homes, really low interest rates, 30-year debt, this is going to be the buying opportunity of the next 15 to 20 years. These next 2 years are the buying opportunity of the next 20 years.
I completely agree, and I would tell you that buying these assets. Look, a mistake that I made back in '08 is that I was in the middle of rehabs, several rehabs, and I was in South Florida, at that time, which was a super hard market. Basically, money was free. The Big Short, literally, they went down to down there to go, right. I mean, we were in the heart of it, and so my point being is that I had gotten caught up, like a lot of other people, on several projects, buying into the appreciation game, right? Which was the kiss of death for so many people. And so, the big lesson here is that buy cash flow producing assets today. If they make money today and they make money all the way down, right? And they're still making money, guess what? They're going to make money all the way up too.
You got it.
So
one rental at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, and so make sure that you're getting the return, you're getting the cash, and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Then if you can lever up and you can use some of the the facilities that are out there, some of the lending that's out there, as it starts loosening up and get a little bit banger for your buck, a bigger bang for your buck, then that's an amazing opportunity as well. And then I'll also tell you, a lot of people that are going to hear this or watch this they're going to have either recently lost a job or, kind of in that process. And they, it's a shocking statistic. I think the number I read was $14 trillion, something stupid. That's sitting in corporate 401ks, et cetera, that has just accumulated over the year that doesn't get moved.
Oh, wow.
Right. So think about this for a moment. For those of you that are in that particular scenario, if you've lost your job, most people don't even know they have the ability to take that money out of that corporate 401k, especially with the new regulations that just came out from the SBA. Get that money moved over into a self-directed IRA or a self-directed 401k right now, and then lever up, because you can absolutely do that. Again, something you don't know you can do, but you can go start buying these cash flowing assets inside of your retirement accounts and have a tax deferred or tax-free event, and lever up with lenders that are comfortable loaning in that environment. I mean, there's so many things that pivots you can make right now really quickly to take advantage of the market right now. And unfortunately, most just don't know even exist, but they absolutely do every single day.
Yeah. So I'm going to twist that question around now and ask you about your business. For example, do you go from 7 markets to 11 in this downturn? Have you been eyeing 4 maybe that were
ironically,
not cheap enough?
We were looking at 2 markets just 2 months ago. Our plan was to add 2 markets every 2 years for the foreseeable future. But I think we're probably pushing back at least 6 months, going to take a little bit of a wait and see approach. And for no other reason except that just like everybody else, we want to understand how this all washes out, what the footing is in any particular market before we go and set up a physical location, et cetera, et cetera. The opportunities are there. And again, I have relationships, at the highest levels with the iBuyers and the institutions. I mean, everybody is kind of on the same page here. Everybody agrees that the opportunities are getting ready to be boundless, right? What people don't necessarily know is while we're in lockdown, and while that landscape has changed, and while the government's trying to intervene and flood the market with money, it's creating a little bit of a quicksand kind of effect right now. And so once everybody kind of gets on some equal footing, I think then a lot of people are positioned to make decisions quickly and act quickly.
Well, I think the other thing that goes unsaid here is there's no reason to add 2 new markets today, because I think your volume is getting ready to increase in the 7 that you have. So any
100%.
Right. So I think you do more by being focused.
I mean, before it was a luxury, not a necessity, and that's the same here, right? Nothing's really moved that needle for us in any significant way.
Very cool. So I have to ask about the shirt. Is that from Ed Milet's book, Man Up, or is that
No,
just
this is from
coincidence?
Bedros Koulian, a friend of mine. Although Ed Milet and I are good friends, so is Bedros. This is his book, Man Up.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate. I have as you get to our level and get to our age, I've gotten to a place where I've got a very close circle of friends that I'm very proud of, including Ed, including Bedros, including Lewis Howes and
Wow.
Jesse Itzler and Sarah Blakely and Frank Kern and Roland Fraser. It's kind of we've got our own little group there that that's probably a really good opportunity to sit here and say that in uncertain times like this, anybody that's listening and watching this, number one, that's an amazing step, because that's what you should be doing, right? Surrounding yourself with people that have wisdom and knowledge, but it goes much further than that as well.
Yeah.
Is that make sure you're really careful of the people that you surround yourself with, because they will have a huge and, a disproportionate impact on what you believe is possible.
Yeah.
And if you hang around, 5 or 6 losers that are telling you it can't happen, guess what? You're number 7. And so I take a lot of pride in making sure that I surround myself with high performing, high achieving people that ultimately, help to make me better.
Very, very cool. Well, I think I don't know who said it, so I can't give them credit, but if I can ask you about your 5 closest friends, I can pretty much tell you what your future is going to be like. So
yep. It's never a truer statement, right? I mean, it is what it is.
Well, Kent, let's just wrap this up. I know you have a hard stop in a few minutes here. How can people follow you, look you up on whether it's Instagram or Facebook, your websites? You've got so much stuff going on. Let us know how they can follow you.
The easiest place to find me, I'm real easy to find on social media. So it's just Kent Clothier on Facebook or Kent Clothier on Instagram. Make sure that you're looking for the blue check marks, because unfortunately we live in a world where people do set up fake accounts, but you can know whether you're actually seeing me or not with that blue verified check mark. So on Instagram or Facebook, Kent Clothier, or you can see me at kentclothier.com.
Very cool. And you want to give a plug one more time to Real Estate Worldwide? I mean, you guys are doing some
absolutely.
things. They got to step up.
The name of our company, if you're looking for help in the real estate space and you want to understand how to do, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about, just go to rew.com, which is Real Estate Worldwide. So at rew.com, get signed up for one of our courses or a free consultation. We'll happily jump on the phone with you, at no cost, and just talk to you about, what the possibilities are. If there's something there we can do to help you, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, and I'll just wrap up by reminding folks of some stuff in the middle of this conversation. We are on the precipice of legacy wealth, generational wealth being created. There have been interesting incomes made the last 5 years. We are sitting in the front of 2 years of incredible opportunity. You got to look up Real Estate Worldwide, because they have the systems, the tools, processes in place to just help you go faster. First movers are going to matter. They didn't matter as much in 08. They're going to matter today with technology. And Kent, I want to thank you for all you've done. And this has been a great 40 minutes. Thank you.
You got it, brother. My pleasure. Take care.
All right. Thanks.